panel around how to sell during a downturn from 4 print leaders who are actually doing it right now. And joining me, as you can see here on the screen, are Sherry Robertson, Ira Bowman, Bill Gillespie, and Bill Doer. I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves here just briefly, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about today's presentation. So why don't you go ahead, starting with Sherry, just give us a little background on yourself, and then we'll move to Ira.
Sure. So my background is actually not in print. My background is in marketing. I came into print by accident, and now I work for a grand format shop. I've been there for just over 12 years. When I started, we were a picture framing shop, and everything we do now, I built myself. So I can run every press in our building. I know everything about them, and I am probably the biggest print nerd you're going to meet. And see you guys making faces like you think it's you, but I promise it's me.
That's awesome, Sherry. I love your energy. I love your enthusiasm. And we'll move over to Ira now. Hey, Ira, how are you?
I'm good. I want to compete for that print nerd title. I actually use that all the time. So if you don't know me, my name's Ira Bowman. I work for ARC. It's the, I think, the greatest print company in the world. So I'm happy to work for them. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been an outside sales rep. I've been a sales manager. I've been a director of sales. I've worked in a few different capacities all over the country. I come from the reprographics world. So plotters. Right, I've been selling plotters for 20 years, but we also do large format printing. We do traditional printing. So ARC is unique in that it has copy centers, print shops, and it also manages equipment fleet. So we do both internal and external prints.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ira, for being here today with us. And on to the 2 Bills. Let's go with Bill Gillespie first. Bill, thanks for being here. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I'm the token senior citizen, so unless it happens to be Joe Manis, I'm pretty sure I'm the oldest guy queued up right now. But I got in the printing business in 1975. I'm currently with Bennett Graphics in Atlanta, which is a real internationally recognized technology leader, just a great company with a lot of creative solutions, and having a lot of fun here at the last stretch of my career. So.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. And last but not least, Bill Doer, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here with all these other print nerds. So I'm from Hatteras in Tinton Falls, New Jersey. We're down the Jersey Shore. So, you know, typically a big weekend here for Memorial Day weekend. So I hope everybody who's coming to this area just keeps it safe and does the right thing. And you know, my role in the company, I'm the president. It's a family business. I've been around it my whole life. I got a business card that says infant, and most recently it says president. I've been here full time for 11 years, and my job's to keep our people motivated and working and connect our operations with the needs of the marketplace. So awesome to be here talking with everybody today.
Wonderful, folks. And for those of you who just joined, you haven't missed anything yet. We just did a brief introduction of your panel today. And as you can see, there's a diversity of demographics within this panel here. I handpicked each of you to speak with the audience today because you all bring a unique angle to the conversation. Ira, for example, really heavily utilizes LinkedIn, as does Bill Gillespie and the others here. But Ira brings some insight from that perspective that I think you're all going to find valuable. Bill Gillespie, with a wider view on the print market, having been in the industry for a while, I think is a fascinating person to have on the panel. He also uses LinkedIn and social uniquely in a way that I think a lot of you are going to find value in. Bill Doer, I think you look about half my age, so it's really cool to see the other side of the spectrum. It's great to have young people, I think, coming into this industry, excited and passionate, like you, Sherry. And so we're just excited that you're all here. Thank you for your time. Now what I want to know from you in the audience, go over to the chat, and 2 things. Where are you hearing us from? Where are you dialed in from right now? Number 1. And 2, where did you hear about today's event? So did you hear about it through an email, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, you know, Ira, Joe Manos? Where'd you hear about today's event? I want to see that starting to pour in here. I'm seeing people from all over the world, which is exciting, all over North America. We're hearing people from LinkedIn, Calabasas, Boston, Alberta, Anaheim, California, Austin, Texas. Wow, it's just pouring in too quick. I can't even see all of them coming in. So today I'm joined on my side here. Keep that coming, folks. It's really cool to see. By Joe Manos. So I want to turn it over to Joe. Introduce us as your moderators today.
Okay, fantastic. So hello, everyone. I'm Joe Manos, Executive Vice President of our Customer Success group, and really excited to be here. Dave, you may not remember this, but today, the 22nd of May, is my 14th year anniversary at Mindfire.
Amazing.
So we're now starting the 15th year that we've been partnering together.
Amazing.
Dave, and with me is Dave Rosendahl. He's our president, one of the co-founders. And now I'm second to Dave and Mo, the oldest employee at Mindfire, both figuratively and number of years. So we're excited to have you guys here. We've got an unbelievable panel, and you're going to walk away from today's event with some amazing, I repeat, some amazing information. So glad to be here.
Thank you, Joe. It's going to be a lot of fun. So folks, just in case this is the first time you've bumped into Mindfire, I want to make sure that you know who we are and that we set the foundation for kind of the vantage point that Joe and I are bringing to this conversation. So we've had the honor of working with thousands of commercial print organizations, graphic arts companies over the years, a lot of work with 2D printers, and increasingly in the past couple of months, more and more 3D printers as well. So there's probably a few 3D print folks here in the audience, especially with COVID and what's happened recently. That's becoming an increasingly interesting sector for Mindfire here. At our heart, we are a software company, but we believe heavily in helping educate the market, bringing value to you in sessions like this, which is why we're doing today's event. So from a very high level, as I said, Mindfire is a software company. We have a omni-channel communication platform, as well as an in-house agency that helps our customers use our omni-channel communication to drive leads and grow sales. And so it's from that vantage point that many of you here are gathered today. We work with, like I said, numerous service providers, which could be agencies, print organizations, like the many names that I see pouring in here. And we help you service brands like those you see here on the screen. And we also work directly with those organizations as well in some cases. So it's an honor to be here with you. If this is the first time that we've met, again, this is Dave Rosendahl. Joe Manos is also going to be moderating with me the panel today. And as we looked at everything that was pouring in from you in terms of the interest in your attendance in the panel today, it was really quite amazing. Joe, I think you have this word cloud here.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with word cloud, it's really awesome. It takes all the awesome questions you all asked, puts it in a map there, and you can see your question there if you look real close. And but because we wouldn't have time to answer all of the awesome questions, and we do a lot of these, I was really, really impressed with your questions. If we go to the next slide, we'll show you how we distilled it down to the top 6. So it doesn't come any surprise. We've done 5 or 6 of these over the last couple, 6, 7 weeks, and everybody's asking. The number one question is, how do I survive? How do I sell in this COVID environment? And so 35% of your questions were there. The second greatest area was marketing use cases, focus, how to, what do I do? The tie for that was, what new technology solutions and offerings are your customers bringing to market? What works? What should I be doing? The fourth area was print buying dynamics and changes. Who's buying what? What kind of shrinkage have you seen? 7.5%. The fifth area, emerging industries and vertical market opportunities. What are you seeing? 6% of your questions were there. And finally, the direct mail impact and use cases that are still making money in this COVID environment. So we distilled it down to those 6 areas. And like I said, we had hundreds of questions beyond that. So we've got some great insight in those 6 food groups.
Yeah, I mean, you can see here, Joe had to rifle through, just pages and pages of questions. We appreciate all of those that you sent in, folks. And because we're not going to be able to get everything today, I want to make sure that you have a resource to continue to communicate with the wonderful panel, as well as each other through this important time. So Jessica, if you don't mind, there's 2 things I want to make sure you do in order to continue this conversation, folks. First, connect with me on LinkedIn. Jessica's going to put that here in the chat for everybody. Go there and connect so you can be notified of other events that we do like this. And then second, we have a LinkedIn group, which you can see here on the screen, which is your group. This is for commercial printers, marketing executives, folks in leadership within the communications industry, to help you make connections with the companies that need your services, as well as help you engage one another to continue driving this industry forward. So I want to make sure you're a part of that group. Everybody here on the call, all of the panelists today are members of that group. And so that's going to be a good place to hang out and continue to get your questions answered. All right. With that, let's jump into the first question. Again, these are actual questions that you submitted. They represent, as Joe said, the kind of the bucket of just dozens and hundreds of questions that are tied to that theme. So we've left them pretty much exactly as you submitted them. We fixed up a few grammatical errors and such, but other than that, these are directly from you folks. So the first question that I'm going to throw out here, this is a question that we saw numerous examples of. How are you handling not being able to get a client on the phone with everyone working from home, everyone teleworking? And so first, I think I'm going to throw this over to you, Sherry. Give us your perspective.
Sure. So I read this question 3 times to decide whether people wanted to know how I'm connecting with my existing customers, which I feel like we're all probably kind of doing the same stuff, right? We're all Zooming, we're all using email. I'm sure some people are texting. I mean, honestly, I have Snapchat, WhatsApp, and like 13 other apps that my customers use. But the more I thought about it, I was like, what I think you really want to know is how do I get somebody new, right? Because there are people whose business is declining. So here's what I would say. What we're doing, I always tell our lead generator, your job is to be the MacGyver of prospecting. That's my language. That's what I always say to her. And that's what you guys have to do. You have to really think about not what you used to do and not what has worked, but what can work. So like today, right now, if there's anybody on this Zoom who sells print media, go into the participants, look at everyone who's there, and then go to LinkedIn and see if you can find them. Do you have a solution for them? Here's my thing. Don't waste my time if you can't come to me with something that you know I'm going to be able to use. That's, nobody has time. Bill and I were talking actually earlier about how time's so valuable, right? No one has time right now. We're all scrambling. So my suggestion is be really resourceful in how you try to find people and then go to them with some kind of solve. They're going to take the time to listen to you because everybody needs solutions right now.
Absolutely.
How is that for fast?
Absolutely. Bill Dewar, what about you? What are you seeing in your organization in terms of being able to get people since they're all, or most people are working at home?
So I think it's definitely evolved from, where we were 9-10 weeks ago to where we are now. But from the get-go, we ramped up our social media presence. We tried to create a bunch of different engaging content, that gave our sales team an opportunity to just talk to people, pick up the phone and first, lead the conversation. How you doing? How's your family? What's going on with you? And then move the conversation over to needs. What do you need? What are you thinking? Here's some ideas that we have. And just creating kind of engaging content to start a conversation. So it's not just about being a sales call, So, and we've also used direct mail where we've sent direct mail to some influencers. And around Earth Day, we had some of those influencers tell the story of our direct mail piece on some of their social channels. So we're just trying to get creative and tell compelling stories through our social channels to give our team content to utilize in their outreach. And then you got to be a little bit relentless right now. Email, call, Zoom, direct messages. I can't say that I've got Snapchat or WhatsApp working for me, but that's definitely an eye opener, Sherry. So good for you.
Bill, what's an example of one of the influencers?
So we sent it out to Deborah Korn.
Okay.
We sent it out to Trish Witkowski and a couple other people we know who have, gone online and shared our piece. And we had Morgan Sprengel from our team, who's the director of customer success, create a nice video kind of talking about the production notes on our Earth Day mailing as well. Got it.
What about you, Bill G? What's your perspective on what it's like engaging people right now?
It's really hard. I think what the others have said is right. Creativity, but personal. That would be our theme, is to be as creative as we can be, but as personal as we can be. There's some cute anecdotes. We've shipped a pizza to somebody and then had a virtual lunch together. We've shipped a sample to somebody and reviewed a sample together over video, and maybe it's coffee. And, those things don't just show your creative solution, they show your personality too, which, man, that's everything right now. People are lonely too in all of this. They're happy to have a conversation.
So Bill, when you ship that pizza, are you shipping it to their home?
To wherever they are.
Wherever they are? Okay.
It's not a surprise. We have that conversation. We invite them, and it's amazing what a pizza will do. People will agree to meet with you virtually if you're going to send them something to eat. So it doesn't work every time, but it does work.
Fascinating. What about you, Ira?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. So I've got a few different things, and the answer to this actually has evolved, as Bill, I think, alluded to. What we were doing in the beginning is not where we are now. We've come a long ways. I put this slide together to kind of show you that one of the things I'm doing, and you guys may not be there, but that's why I want to talk about it, is I'm doing in-person visits now. In the beginning, I was very weary. In fact, ARC was early to kind of shut us down and say, hey, now's not the time to focus on hard sell. Now's not the time to be pushing sales. It's more about checking to see how people are and take their temperature. And we don't want to go and visit people because we want to be respectful. We don't want them to assume that, you know, we could put them at risk by showing up unannounced. But now, 9 weeks later, 10 weeks later, whatever it is, you know, I'm finding that the business owners are there and they are open to a conversation in person like never before. You show up with your safety, you know, your N95 mask, and you have some samples like Sherry alluded to with solutions that are real world solutions that they need right now. And they will make time for you right now. So every day, including yesterday, you know, that's what I'm doing. I'm out in the field. Am I using emails and the phone? Of course I am. But I'm one of the only people I know that's beating the street right now. And it's working like, honestly, never before. I always cold call, but the cold call result is like awesome right now. So
is anybody turning you down? Is anyone saying, you know what, just not ready for that yet?
Yeah, the people that aren't excited about it are usually the ones that, you know, if they are open and have been open the whole time, right? So grocery store cold calls are not very effective right now. Medical clinics, not so much. But if you're going to the restaurant owner or, you know, the insurance agent or the property manager, and they have not opened or they're not fully opened yet, you know, I hate to say return to work because a lot of people have been working the whole time, but think return to office, return to their store, return to their job. Those people are excited. So I'm not getting a lot of no's from people who are not open or who are not fully open.
Got it. Very cool. All right. So Joe, let's queue up the next question here.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was way up there, and it's spot on. Is LinkedIn a useful tool in sales? So Bill, why don't you start off and give us your perspective, if you would, please?
Yeah, I think it's a crucial part of the sales kit. It's been, you know, really effective for us in just kind of broadcasting our message, both as a company, and then we've been encouraging our whole team to kind of build their individual brands. You know, we've built our company following by about 1,000 followers in the last 8 weeks. We've really been engaging a lot of people. I think it's just a part of the toolkit, though. Like, I don't want my sales team spending all day on LinkedIn just poking around and messaging people. I also just think it's a good way to identify who to talk to that's out there, and a great way for you to have a presence and to, you know, put your own personal touch on the company that you work for.
Absolutely great. Spot on. Bill Gillespie, how about you? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we love it. We're very active as a company, but also as individual sales reps with LinkedIn. We share case studies almost exclusively. Occasionally it's a social story, but it's typically case studies.
Yep.
We have invested in some very significant marketing portfolios, idea portfolios that we don't mass mail. We make someone request them. And so we use social media to create inquiries for those. And then you've got an informed call. So we're getting someone requesting, hey, I'd like information about that thing or that service or that technique. We share them. The portfolio is overwhelming when it's received, and it triggers face-to-face visits. Right now, those visits are a little different, but it triggers visits, and it's been very, very big part of growing our business.
I'm so excited to hear that you've invested in that content portfolio, because there was a study late last year that said prospects want to see 3 to 5 pieces of content before they grant sales reps an appointment. So spot on, right on. Ira, I know that you kind of believe in LinkedIn, right?
Sorry, I was actually reading LinkedIn as you were asking me about it. So LinkedIn is a huge part of what I do. If you'd known me for any time, in fact, most of you probably only know me because of LinkedIn, right? 145,000 people follow me personally on LinkedIn. I actually have some business pages that people follow that are in the tens of thousands as well. So I use LinkedIn a lot. What do I do with it? There's a few things, right? I initially, like most sales reps, I think got into it to do prospect research and market research. But what I learned along the way is that people want to do business with people, right? So it's a relationship builder.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about people want to see the brand, and I 100% agree with that. But more than that, your reps need to be present on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And not just pitching. I'm going to give you guys all a tip. You want to grow like I have? 20% or less needs to be about what you do, and 80% needs to be about you as a person and in your life and the market in general. Because again, if they know you, it's a relationship business. If you have a relationship with somebody and you're 5% more, 3% more, they're still going to give you a shot.
Yep.
David, you got your hand up.
Yeah. I was just going to say that ties to, I know what Bill Gillespie has done often is share about his own life, like the work transition that you did a few years back, right, Bill? And that piece resonated with your audience, with your tribe in a way that was pretty remarkable.
I was not ready for that. So many people anxious about their employment and the success of their career. And I was 60 and suddenly without a job, and I thought I was unhireable. I wrote this little story about how well it turned out. It wasn't even a story; it was just a post, and it's still being viewed. I wasn't prepared for how many people were touched by that anecdote. So.
Yeah, so you've just switched over to this. This is something unique because I have 145,000 followers. LinkedIn agreed to let me broadcast live on LinkedIn, which is common on other platforms, but very few people have that ability here on LinkedIn. So what do I do? Every Tuesday, I actually have this parked right now because of COVID-19, but I do a show and I pick a segment of printing and I educate people on it. You know, I take questions, I deep dive, I give people resources. It's an hour-long show, and it's kind of fun. But this helps to establish me as a print expert, industry expert, or a nerd, as I like to refer to myself. So Sherry and I can go after that title later, I guess. But that's what the show is about. It's a live show, and I use video a lot. I create video a lot because, and we can talk about this strategies reaching out to customers, but pictures, videos, in the absence of meeting people face to face, it creates or helps to create a rapport. And we want to build that rapport however we can.
Awesome.
Bill Dewar, did you want to add anything to here?
I think I led with this one.
Okay.
But, I'm with you.
Okay. Good. And I saw for Ira, I just wanted to throw this out to you, Ira, since you're leading the pack here in social. There was a question around whether or not you use LinkedIn Navigator. I know that comes up fairly often.
I actually do not have a premium account anymore. I used to have a premium account, but I found it to be a waste of my money, honestly. Mm-hmm. So I've taken that. It's like $70 or $80 a month, right? I mean, it's expensive. Yep. So I took those resources because I wasn't getting reimbursed from my company. It's out of my own pocket. I took that money and used it for other things, and I've gotten a better ROI from that. So no, I have a free account.
Excellent.
Hey, Dave,
yes, sir.
Real quick before you go to the next one, there was a comment made in the questions about you can't do this in New York City. And I would submit to you that many of the strategies and tactics you're hearing from this awesome panel and that we deploy at Mindfire can be done in New York City. You just can't go out face to face yet. But everything else this awesome group is talking about, innovation, content, connections through the different avenues, those are available 10 minutes after this webinar. So don't let that stop you.
Yeah, let me talk to that real quick because I live in LA and I came from San Francisco. And New York and San Francisco and New York and LA, it's the same deal. I get it, right? You're talking about you can't get up the elevator at any of the businesses because you have to have an appointment. That's why I developed my social media. Everything that I did was to chess match that game. So I get it. But once you build your rapport with people on LinkedIn, they see you and you reach out to them. Trust me, when I reach out to somebody and I have a large LinkedIn network and I ask them to connect with me, they always accept it. I don't get rejected by anybody. I promise you. So if you have a target in New York City that you want to hit, if you build your network up, so when they click on it and go, oh my gosh, this guy's got 30,000 connections and he's reaching out to me, I need to connect with them. Then when you ask for the appointment, you get it, right? So it's not the cold calling part, but that's the long game. And that's why I did it.
Beautiful.
It'll help you in New York City.
I see a lot of questions coming in around LinkedIn. So folks, we'll get to those at the end. We'll make sure to answer your questions. I'm going to take the next one here for the panel. And this came in a variety of different flavors, but in general, the question was the same. over 91,000, it's probably 92,000, unfortunately, at this point. People have died from COVID, and many of us know someone who has. So how do you avoid the perception that you aren't taking this pandemic seriously? And kind of the common questions centered around this were like, so should I still be calling on people? Should I still be marketing? If I talk about COVID, do I seem to be pandering, to taking advantage of this situation? So there were a lot of you who are interested in this. I'm going to start first with you, Bill Dewar. What's your perspective on this question?
Well, so I think, early on when this all started, we took a bunch of precautionary measures to make our workplace safe and make sure our employees knew that we were taking this really seriously. They were almost questioning some of our measures early on because it hadn't been rolled out on a broader scheme. So we started to take it really seriously at work. And then locally, we identified a need for protective face shields. We saw some other companies kind of springing into action and doing a similar thing. So we put our services right into use. So our team kind of rallied behind that and served a need on a local level and a little bit beyond that. And that led, kind of leading with that goodwill and this big donation, effort that we had with the face shields really led, we led to our customers. We were telling them the story. So it was very apparent to people that we were taking it seriously and leveraging our capabilities to serve a greater need. So that we kind of put any of those concerns to bed. This is a serious situation, especially here in the New York, New Jersey area. I mean, very serious. So,
Yep.
And I use LinkedIn quite a bit to create some videos, create some content to kind of let people know how we were approaching it, share our story a little bit, connected with a bunch of other printers who were doing the same thing. And, that was definitely right out of the gate something that we're taking it very seriously from day one. And we made that very apparent to everybody, customers, suppliers, partners. So
yeah, you got a shout out, Bill, in the chat here from Alex, who's a printer as well, and he said, Bill hooked me up to get this done, creating those face shields. So big thanks to Bill and Hatteras. So thank you for leading the way there and doing that. And I'd love to hear from you, Sherry, in terms of your perspective on this question and how you're handling it within your organization.
Sure, kind of similar, because I think that. I know, Bill, you guys have some large format equipment as well. So, large format shops obviously adjust a little bit different than small format shops given this, because we have that equipment. Our shop is unique in that not only do we have large format equipment, but we also do 3D printing and we also do vacuum forming. So in like about 3 hours, we had 1,000 shields done because we were able to back form press them. So for us, though, I think that lots of people are doing all of these great things, and I think it's amazing. But I think the really smart thing to do is know how to say it in your own voice. And, to Bill's point, they put a lot of content out on LinkedIn, smart. But everyone's saying the same stuff. Like everybody sends out the email that says like, hey, we're doing all the things. We're being really safe. Make sure that what you're doing is you're sending it out in a way that's your truth. It's your story. Make it personal, because I think that's the big difference in the connections. I'm going to ask you to flip to the next slide, just so you guys can kind of see like how we present it. So what we did is we took our whole website, we revamped the homepage, our splash page, we added a whole section to it. We put all the stuff on our LinkedIn, all of our email blasts, everything we put on LinkedIn, all tagged, all the same voice, all the same story, and all of it is the same thing. You'll see it over and over again. You'll see it every time you see me post something. Do good, be well, stay safe. Everything you get from me has the same thing on it. Do good, be well, stay safe, because that's our voice. That is who we are as a company, not just in this, but in everything. And I think the thing is that this is an opportunity for everybody to step back and say, like, I read the question to this one. You're like, how do you seem like you're, not being harsh, that you're selling? That's what you should be doing. We should all be out trying to help each other and say like, hey, I'm here to help you. Like, I will say, on the flip side of it, I read the question. I kind of chuckled because I actually got an email last week, and it's probably borderline offensive. I'm going to be honest, but I opened it. Right? So that's the thing. I got an email blast and the subject line says, we hope you're doing okay and everyone is still alive. What? Right? And that, like, every one of us made that face. I bet all the people that are sitting there made a face, right? But you know what I did? I probably got 400 emails that were, those types of emails. I opened 4 last week. One of the 4, that one. So I think it's about, if you want to take the chance of saying something that's kind of like, I'm sure those people probably upset some people, but I'm sure they also probably got a really, really high volume of people that opened that email and looked at what the content was. So don't be afraid. And I think, you just have to take that leap and say like, hey, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to tell it the way that I built my brand. That brand narrative is the most important thing we can focus on right now as companies, as printers, as whoever you are. Your brand narrative is your number one thing to talk about right now, in my opinion.
We can tell you're passionate about that, and that clearly comes through, and you are consistent in how you communicate that message, which is a really important aspect. What about you, Bill G? What are you seeing here, and how do you think about this very serious situation that we're in?
Well, we wanted everybody to know we were open. We wanted everybody to know we were being responsible. We wanted everyone to know we were available, but we wouldn't be in the way. And so, like everything we do at Bennett Graphics, our communications are very personal. We write like we talk. Our emails, our letters, our outreach, all very, hey, we don't want to offend you by coming to you if that is offensive, but we do want you to know that we're here if you need us. And so everything is very, very, very sensitive, and it's communicated consistently and effectively that way through all of our channels. As you can see on the slide, we created our own statement like everybody has done, and we shared it, and it's connected to our email signature, and it's on our website, it's on our social media, but that's just protocol. The behavior is the thing.
Yep. Fascinating. What about you, Ira?
So ARC is a little bit unique. I think we are a global company, right? So we have locations outside the United States. So they have a corporate global plan, national plan, regional, and down on the local level. So the very first thing that they did, like I think I said, is, they got ahead of this thing and said, hey, we need to be careful on how we are interacting both internally as a staff and externally with our customers. So any non-essential employees were basically who could work from home, like the sales staff. We did that right away. Some of the stores in some of the regions closed down completely, right? And then are reopening now. But things like curbside pickup, I don't know if you guys can see it down in the bottom corner, but we tried to basically have customers call in and let us know when they were there to pick up their orders, so that we didn't have to bring them in, and minimize exposure. Like I said, we were having salespeople do things remotely. So a lot of virtual meetings and emails and phone calls. We also, because, we're the print business and we do signage, we have a corporate side, for internal, how we handle it and interact with our customers, but also to help our customers with their, COVID-19 plan. One of the things that we're doing up in the top right corner, you can see, is we're doing site surveys for folks. And so we're coming in where needed, and we're getting a copy of their footprint, their blueprint, if you will, of their location. When we're walking with them, we're taking photos, we're helping them figure out the layout. We do this much more than they do, as it turns out. So they're leaning on our expertise with this. So there's that. And then we've made it easy for people who just go, you know what, I know what I want. We've got a virtual, what we call a digital storefront, a DSF, where we make it easy for people to browse through the catalogs and place their own order. We've even created a catalog that's evolving, but it includes a way for them to do their own site survey. We kind of teach them what they need to know and then make it easy for them to keep track, so when they're going through to order, they get enough. So there's multiple parts of this, and it is evolving. One thing I will say about ARC, our VP, who I know is in COVID-19, Frank, I think he's on this somewhere watching, but he has been doing national sales huddles with our teams 2 and 3 times a week and educating us. So some of these questions, like who's buying and how to approach it and what to do, both internally and externally, they've been giving us so much information, which has been, from a sales perspective, a blessing. But I have to go figure this all out myself. We have a lot of corporate direction, and when somebody figures out, hey, this solution, to Sherry's point, like sell me a solution, which I completely agree with. When we figure it out as a company, then the rest of us can go on a local level and go, okay, well, let's attack the property managers. Let's go after the schools. Let's go after the retail. You know what I mean? And we know what to talk about. And a lot of that advantage comes from our size. So,
and to the folks here that maybe don't have those resources or an organization like that, that's another reason why we created this COVID-19 print groups, to help, share these kinds of ideas. Ira, you're blessed in your organization to be able to get those from above, so to speak.
Right.
But that's one of the goals that we have here in doing stuff like this, is being able to share that information with you. Joe, before I throw this back to you for the next question, I just want to go back real quick to something that you said, Bill, here, that I wrote down. We write like we talk. And I just want to underscore that for everybody just for a moment, because certainly from our perspective here within Mindfire, as we've communicated through this pandemic, what we have found is that when we communicate, let's say through email, in a way that's not stiff corporate, blah, blah, blah speak, but is actually engaging at a human level, the response has been incredible. In fact, many of you that are probably here, I know some of you have replied back to me and said, I'm confused. Did you send this just to me? Because it feels like you just wrote it to me. Did you guys send this just to me, or was it to everybody? And in most cases, we're sending it to multiple people, but we're writing it in a way, just as you said, Bill, that resonates at a human level. Anything you want to add about your experience in writing the way you talk?
It just seems natural. If you're disconnected, I'm old enough that when we had to learn to do email, it was a traumatic experience. Okay. So having to put what I wanted to say to somebody in an email message versus a voicemail message was a big change. And so I just learned that if I wrote it the way I would say it, they could hear my voice in a message that I wrote. So.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. All right, Joe, well, let me throw it over to you. Let's keep this moving on to question number 4 here.
And before I jump on this question, because it's such an awesome group of contributors, one other coaching tip for all the sales folks out there: when you're reaching out to folks, after so many great suggestions already, but just ask them, by the way, what's your number one problem or need right now? Just so I know. So if I run across anything that we can help with, I want to be able to reach out to you. I'm so shocked at how many people don't wrap up their call with that basic question. So for all the salespeople and business leaders, please add that to your how are you doing? All right. Next question area. What are you doing differently now to generate business during this time other than COVID signage? So this really comes into that area of, what are we doing differently to get new business in? So let's go ahead and start with Sherry there. With some of your thoughts. Fire away.
Before I do that, I'm going to add one thing to what you said, Joe. You said wrap up the stuff about what are you looking for. I say lead with it. So I actually spent some time just listening to people's pitches, and I spent an hour with somebody from, I won't mention what printer they sell, but they went through a whole pitch with me, and at no point did they ever ask me what we did or what we needed. And at the end I was like, hey, you should have started with this, because the one thing I was interested in you never talked about, and you had 1 hour and now an hour's over. So I say lead with it. Don't be afraid to ask that up front. That's courtesy, because I don't want to waste your time. Now I'm going to answer the question about what we're doing different. So one of the things that's kind of unique for us, and it's funny because in our area where we are in this little tiny town in Bristol, Pennsylvania that y'all never heard of, we're a big fish. But here with all these other printers, we're probably like a little fish, right? So just depends on what pond you're swimming in. But for us, one of the things we've done is we actually went out and we met with some of the print shops, like guys who I never talked to before. There's like 5 or 6 local print shops, and they're making like these yard signs that are like for graduates, and they're making these things that are, like curbside signs and things for one-offs. They're like for the boutique in the town that I live in that has like 12,000 people. I'll be honest with you, I don't want to make that sign. Like, that's not my business. That's not what I'm really good at. And that's not what I'm set up for. But I want somebody that when someone calls me, I can say like, hey, who's really great at that? That guy Dave down, in Lambertville. He's awesome at that. You should call that guy. And so we started reaching out to those guys. And I have to tell you, it's crazy. Those guys have sent me so much business because they can't manage it. So all of a sudden we're getting calls from these other print shops who are like, oh, these guys need 300 signs. They can't run 300 signs. They're not set up to run 300 signs. So as crazy as it sounds, make partnerships with people who maybe you wouldn't have thought you should be partners with, right?
Amen.
Like, so, I'm looking at you guys and I'm like, all I'm doing is listening to what y'all are saying, trying to figure out like, okay, how can I either figure out how to partner with each one of you? And if there's anybody who's listening that's like, oh, you know what? Those guys do vac forming. Maybe that's something I can use. And here's what I do. Maybe she can use that. Make those connections. Because honestly, honestly, that strategic partnership, it will set you way far, not just today because of this, which I'll be honest is the reason I called those print shops, but in general, it really taught me a lesson that like I probably should have known before now, being in sales as long as I have been. But I say that's the thing is like be strategic in your partnerships.
Beautiful.
Yep. All right, Bill G, I think you're up next. So fire away. What are you doing differently?
Well, the truth of it is the clients are the most creative people in the world. I mean, everybody is. But if you just encourage them to, I don't know who said it earlier, just what would you do if you could do anything you wanted? We just encourage them to be as creative as they can be. The project you're seeing on the screen here, this is because of a graduation cancellation. So where a graduation program print project didn't happen, this really cool kit did happen. This thing went to the graduates all over the world where they were. It was a keepsake box. It's awesome. And this is just one of a lot of things like this we've seen. And it's fun to watch our own staff, how excited they get about saying, can we make this impossible thing possible? Yeah.
You know, we have a saying at Mindfire, anything's possible as long as you have enough time and money, right?
Yeah, we say it, is it impossible or inconvenient? And that changes a lot of arguments right away, you know. So.
Amen.
This project here, we didn't think this up, the school did. This is this Christian school, and these guys have a senior chapel service. And so they came to us with an idea, and we did these cardboard cutouts of every senior. They were staged in their chapel.
Oh my God.
The fellow went in and they filmed, videoed him presenting to this group. And then it very quickly flipped over to a virtual meeting. And so you can see at the bottom of the screen there, students were logged in from wherever their respective homes were. They did their prayer together. They did their whole service. They had their valedictorian spoke, all of these different things that they were deprived of. And we were just thrilled to be a part of it.
That's so cool. Amazing. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's awesome. Hey, Sherry, I saw your hand go up. Did you have a point you wanted to add to, or?
Oh, no, sorry. Okay. I just got a lot of hand gestures. We should have done something else that couldn't be influenced by my hand gestures.
No worries.
I was like, yes, I agree.
All right, how about Bill Dewar? How about you? What are you guys doing differently?
So I think the next question covers a lot of this, but kind of in line with what Sherry was saying, I've made a lot of connections that I traditionally wouldn't have made inside our industry and outside our industry. I've done a lot to lean on our supplier base. Early on, we hooked up with Gilman Brothers. They had some innovative products that they were offering in response to the pandemic, and we got into making some temporary bed frames and partitions with them. I've leaned on our supplier GPA pretty hard to come up with some innovative ideas there. Gary Miller and Craig Surratt and Mike McConville, those guys over there have been a tremendous help during this process. But just, leaning on everyone's, leaning on everybody you can. I've connected with a ton of people that I just would have never have expected to connect with, and our traditional partners that we rely on. So it's just been, a lot of networking, a lot of phone calls, a lot of conversations, and a lot of brainstorming and just trying to solve problems together. And I think those relationships are gonna really benefit us all in the long run as things evolve here.
So men and women, if you're still here with us, you've got an incredible panel. Ask your question. Don't be shy. If we missed it earlier, there were just so many that came in during the session. Drop those into the chat. We're going to try to get as many as we can right now within a reasonable amount of time. A couple things that I wanted to highlight that really stood out to me that I've seen panel that I think you might be interested in seeing, kind of some of the feedback that I've heard. One is that this idea, Bill G., that you raised around write like we talk really seemed to resonate with people. So I want to thank you for that. That was something that a lot of people, I think, are taking as an insight that they're going to apply to their business. For you, Ira, the fact that you're doing in-person meetings, in-person deliveries, I could see there was some surprise at that. That's just not what people expected you to say.
Counterintuitive, right?
Sherry, for you, the fact that May was your biggest year to date, right? In terms of revenue and sales, that's just an optimistic, encouraging stat that I think gives everyone hope that, it can be done, even though things are difficult. And then Bill Dewar, the fact that, and I didn't exactly get your quote, but, that you're leading with optimism there at the head of your organization. You need to embody this positivity so that the team feels that there are better days ahead. That's something that I think as leaders, we're certainly called to do, but also even if you think you're not in a position of leadership, I assure you that people are watching you, people are looking to you, and it's going to take us working together, being optimistic about the future to make it through this time and to not only survive, but also come out the other end and thrive. My final words are to stay strong, rely on the inspiration and the creativity and the ideas that folks like the 4 that you have here, as well as those in the print group that we've created for you. Draw inspiration from them, keep your heads up, and we will get through this, folks, together. With that, have a wonderful day. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks, panel.